Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we're going to meditate few minutes. After the meditation, we have a Dhamma talk. Right now, I'd like to invite Shanti to lead the Metta meditation.
All right. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. May I be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May I always find fulfillment. May I also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May my teachers, my parents, my siblings, my friends and relatives, may they be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always find fulfillment. May they also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May those I meet in my everyday life, may they be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they also find fulfillment. May they have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May those I have difficulty with, may those who wish me enmity, may they be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always find fulfillment. May they also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May all creatures arisen in these realms, either with form or without, with perception or without, with consciousness or without. May they be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they also find fulfillment. May they have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. Now continue with thoughts of metta until you hear the sound of the bell.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Reverend Kasanti, leading the Metta meditation. Our speaker today, Stephen Subodha. Subodha, you can start your Dhamma talk right now.
Thank you, Bhante. I pay homage to the Buddha. I pay homage to the Dhamma. I pay homage to the Sangha. So your news feeds on your social media might be a little different from mine. Mine is very cultivated at this point. A lot of it is Buddhism and other spirituality, nature stuff. If it's not something Buddhism related, it's something very nature based. It's like, look at this cool owl or this nice mountain or whatever. But sometimes I come across something that's very interesting to me, and I'll read it, and there'll be a whole article, and it'll catch my interest for a while. And something like that happened recently about some changes happening within the Sangha in Thailand. For those of you who don't know, in Thailand for a long time, it's been a part of the Thai Buddhist culture, both within like the city and within the wilderness tradition, to have this whole relationship with what they call like amulets or talismans. You know, some of you may be familiar with that, some of you may not. And it's been a long-standing part of the tradition where various monks will make talismans, make amulets, and give them out to the laity. And it's supposed to protect them from all manner of things. You'll see someone out there wearing like 20 of them around his neck, and if he's like a taxi driver or whatever, or even on the road a lot, he'll have even 20 more just hanging off of his rearview mirror and everything like that. And you know, it's supposed to protect from all kinds of things, all kinds of car accidents, illnesses, whatever. It's supposed to make you beautiful, more famous, rich, whatever, all these things that it's supposed to do. And you know, some talismans are made with the image of a particularly famous, well-respected monk, you know, whether that monk is living or dead. And if it's a monk who's passed, it's even more popular now. And you'll see people trading them around like they're baseball cards. You know, people care about particular ones, like, you know, Lungpa so-and-so, and you know, like, look at his amulet. And there's like a whole thing around it. And recently, a lot of the higher ups within the communities there of monks in Thailand have finally decided, hey, you know what? We need to kind of cool it on all the amulets. You know, it feels like we're starting to drift away from the Buddha's teachings a lot. So maybe we should be focusing more on the Buddha's teachings and you know, giving lessons and teaching meditation and all this other stuff, and a little more attention to these talismans, these amulets. And so that was one of the big news items that showed up on my Facebook recently, where I was like, wow, look at that. You know, it took a while, but now the monks are like, maybe we should stop with the baseball card-like trading of these amulets and the various promises that go along with them, and focus on other stuff. And so in light of that news that to me was riveting, I was reading the whole thing like, wow, cool, you know. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the world that people probably feel is more important, but like this felt like a big win for the, you know, the Thai community of Buddhists and those who follow any kind of Buddhist tradition that's outside, that comes from Thailand, in my case, you know, within the wilderness tradition. Where even myself, I have a couple of those talismans at home, more just for the sake of having them, because they're really cool looking, not because I really buy into the idea that they're protecting me from all that much. But I thought I would share a story that I thought was relevant, connected to that comes out of the canon, and it's about a man named Subodha, he was a leper during the time of the Buddha. And Subodha was in this story traveling around, and he was afflicted with leprosy and destitute like a lot of people in that time. It's not all that uncommon now when someone is sick in a way that's very obvious from the outside. You know, they have sores, maybe missing body parts and whatnot. They're sort of cast aside. People don't want to look at them. People don't want to engage with them, especially during that time. And so Subodha was ostracized from society. This is a man who was poor, was hungry, was disfigured, and people didn't really want to give him any attention. And the story begins where he's wandering around as someone without a lot of means, thinking about what a lot of people in that position think about. He's thinking about food. So he's wandering around and he's hungry. And as he's wandering around, he sees a big congregation of people off in the distance. I think he was in Rajagha, right? So he was in one of the big towns, but he sees this big gathering of people there. And he goes, I'm going to go check that out. Like, what's going on over there? Maybe there's food. Maybe they're giving out food over there. I'm going to go see if I can get some. And as he starts his wandering closer to this congregation of people, he realizes, well, no, darn, there's not a whole lot of food happening. But he does recognize, oh, hey, this is the Sakyan Gautama. This is a renowned teacher with a big following. And he's about to start giving a sermon. All right, well, I'm out of luck, no lunch for me, but maybe I'll stick around and hear what this guy has to say. And so he gets into the crowd, sits down, and the Buddha is sitting down as well, and he's surveying the crowd. And as he would often do, he would survey the crowd and start thinking about, all right, well, is there anyone in this crowd who's actually going to benefit from anything I say today? And he looks across the crowd and he sees Subodha, and he goes, okay, I think Subodha is someone who's actually going to benefit from my teaching. So then the Buddha does what in the tradition we call the graduated discourse, where he begins at the very basics, and he starts with generosity, and he builds out from generosity outward towards all kinds of other aspects of the teaching, and then he finally gets into the teachings that are specific to the Buddhas themselves, touching upon the Four Noble Truths and the stuff that actually leads to Nibbana, leads to peace. And as he's giving this graduated talk to the crowd, Subodha, the leper, is receiving all of these lessons and actually doing the work in his mind of applying it, and his Dharma eye opens. He gets to that point where someone says, hey, wow, I think I actually get what the Buddha's teaching here. Everything that has a cause has an end, right? Everything subject to origination is subject to cessation. However we want to translate the phrase, but in any case, he gets this sense of what reality consists of and what it means to let go and abandon. He becomes a renunciant to the extent that he is now a stream winner, right? He has actually entered into the path. He is now one of the, what we call the Arya Sangha. He's now one of the noble disciples who has actually attained a level of awakening. And of course, everyone else in the crowd doesn't know this, but after the talk is over, Subodha goes up to the Buddha himself and says, wow, that was what you just taught me has changed so much for me. My eyes are open now, I see. And so I take refuge in you, teacher. I take refuge in your Dhamma, and I take refuge in the community. Right? Know me as a lay devotee, right? And then Subodha goes off into the world to now be a stream winner, and then quite tragically, he ends up being trampled by a mother cow who was defending her calf. Mother cows can get pretty territorial of their offspring, and they're pretty heavy and big and strong, and so he ends up being trampled and killed by this cow. And after this happens, a bunch of the disciples go running to the Buddha, as they often do when a disciple of the Buddha passes away, and they said, hey, we have bad news. Subodha has passed away. He's been trampled by a cow. But what is his destination, teacher? Right? And then that's when the Buddha reveals, oh, well, it's a good thing that Subodha was there for that lecture I gave, because he became a stream winner. And so even though he's tragically died, he's now living in a very lofty heaven. And so now he's no longer afflicted with his leprosy. He's in a nice, pleasant abode, but he's also a stream winner, which means that he's guaranteed to eventually reach full awakening. And all the monks and lay disciples are like, wow, that's great, what good news. But hold on a minute. If he was the kind of guy who could become a stream winner, then why was he a leper, afflicted with all this stuff, and lived this destitute life, was poor, hungry, and all this? Like, what did he do to have that happen? And in this particular text that I'm referencing, it's from the Udana 5.3, right, which is a later text. The Buddha then gives the reason why. He says, oh, well, Subodha in a past life, he was the son of a pretty wealthy guy, and he was walking around town one day, and he saw a particular Pajeka Buddha. He saw a silent Buddha. And rather than giving respects by showing his right side and circumambulating or whatever, he decided to sort of be really rude to this guy and show his left side and not do the appropriate respects he should have done for someone of that stature. And so because of that, he was born in several realms of hell for a long time before he was born as a human with leprosy and all that stuff. And that part of the story I don't think is as important to me, and it may not be as important to you either. When the accuracy of actions becomes so like ironic and sort of like in a poetic sort of way, I sometimes wonder if that's just an artifact of a later text. I always wonder, like, at texts where, like, yeah, so this one guy managed to step on the foot of a monk, and so for like 500 lifetimes he was born without a foot or something. I'm always like a bit skeptical. But what I do like about the text itself is that it emphasizes the fact that even though this was a person that society had marginalized, pushed to the edge, clearly didn't care about, someone without any means, someone without any support, living a life shunned, considered a monster. I mean, we have to remember how lepers used to be viewed 2,600 years ago, and even not even all that long ago. Before we found a cure for leprosy, there were people who were pushed away as monsters, like a Frankenstein's monster level of shunned from society. And this was someone who was able, after hearing a lecture from the Buddha, to become a string winner, right? Which shows to me the value of the teachings as they relate to the mind versus what happens to the body, what happens to the outside, what happens to those things out of our control. So in a lot of ways, it reminds me of what we talk about in Buddhism as like the 8 worldly conditions, or the 8 worldly winds, or however we want to title them, but they're these qualities that we often think are really important in society. They're the things that a lot of people think we really should focus on. Things like gain and loss, praise and blame, status and loss of status, pleasure and pain. For a lot of people, that's what life is all about. Those are the important things. And we receive those lessons not just from society, but often from at home. We start young being told that these are the things that we need to focus on. We need to get a good job. We need to have a good position in life. We need to have lots of pleasure and do a lot of exciting things. We need to make sure that we're living a life that is perfect in every way as society dictates. And if for some reason any of that doesn't happen, there's a lot of, to say nothing of praise, a lot of blame. Something goes wrong and all of a sudden it's all your fault. It's not society's fault. It's not the conditions of the world. It's your fault. There's a lot of people out there that are in particular positions and we go, yeah, you know what? It's your fault. It's like that. Yeah, but what about society? What has society done to help people in those positions? Whatever, your fault. But a lot of people build their whole personality, their whole sense of self around these things that are just worldly conditions, oftentimes out of our control. And we seek control of those things. And so, it's funny that oftentimes when we talk about Buddhism in the West, we set it aside from the other religions. Other religions are caught up in superstitions. Other religions are caught up in trying to control things. And, Buddhism is about going with the flow, just accepting things as they are. Buddhists don't do any of these things. And then you find examples of like, well, oftentimes there are people out there who seek that out specifically even within Buddhism, this sense of wanting things to be a certain way. And so it's the same thing with these talismans, these amulets. There's just this thing I can wear, there's this thing that I can have, and all my life is just going to be perfect now. I'm protected, I'm safe. But the Buddha that we have in the canon doesn't teach that way, doesn't emphasize that type of protection, right? He gives a protection that is within, an internal protection, an assurance that exists in your mind and your heart, regardless of what happens. Because the 8 worldly conditions are exactly that, winds that whirl around and move around you that are often out of your control, right? We can't control how much gain or loss we have in life. We think we can. We make the best decisions with the information that we have at the time, but we can never be 100% sure. It's not guaranteed. It's inconstant. It's stressful. Shouldn't be regarded as me or mine or myself. And it's true of all the other things as well. Praise and blame, status and loss of status, pleasure and pain. And we can even look at that directly, pleasure and pain. Because there's a lot of people out there that think that they can do all the right things, they eat the right way, they exercise, they do all that stuff, and that's going to prevent them feeling any pains later in life, right? It's like, I don't feel any pain because I do yoga. And then sure enough, it's the same yoga that messed up your ankle, and now your hip kind of hurts too, and you're limping yourself to Air One to get your way too expensive smoothie, and you're like, what happened? I thought yoga was supposed to protect me. There is no protection, right? Other than the protection you give yourself by cultivating a mind that is detached, removed from needing those things in that way. When the Buddha talks about the 8 worldly conditions, he talks about them as things that the run-of-the-mill people, the uneducated people, give themselves into fully. They grasp and cling at the good things, and they're very aversive and run away from all the bad things. And the Buddha says that a disciple of his who's rightly apprehended these worldly conditions doesn't really grab at the good and doesn't push away the bad. And it's not simply a matter of just accepting things as they are. It doesn't stop there. It's recognizing that the work that you need to do is internal. It's not that you don't pay attention to those other things. It's not that you shouldn't try to have a good job. It's not that you shouldn't try to have a healthy, peaceful life. It's not that you shouldn't try to have a good status, a good reputation, and so on. You just don't build your identity around those things, and you don't think that your sense of safety, peace, and liberation are in those things, right? The external things, the things you can wear around your neck, let's say, or the things you can keep in your pocket, or special words that you say, or various other things that are happening within the world. What's happening in the mind, what's happening in the heart, it always comes back to that repeatedly in the Buddha's teachings. Meaning that someone like Subodha, this guy who's afflicted with leprosy, by all accounts in the Buddha's time, he's particularly to blame. Think about the way people understood karma at that time, the way they understood kamma. Everything that happens to you is precisely your fault, right? You did it, that's why it's happening. And there would have absolutely been people during that time who wouldn't believe that someone in that position, afflicted in that way, being in that part of society, meaning off to the sides, not even a part of society, could ever achieve something like stream entry. And yet he was able to do so, hearing the Buddha's words, putting them into practice within his heart and mind. He was able to do that. I find stories like that, and there are so many like that in the canon, highly inspiring, because we tend to think that the spiritual life is something that's only for a select few, right? And this isn't just something that happens within Buddhism. Many spiritual traditions, many religions. I grew up Catholic, but I'm familiar with other Christian traditions that believe in the idea of the elect. That just certain people just have already been chosen by God as saved, and any good thing that happens in their life is just verification that God has blessed them, and the rest of the world is damned, right? But my understanding of the world is very much based in what the Buddha laid out. That our life, our sense of identity, is based in our actions, what we think, what we say, and what we do. It's not based in our body and its failings. It's not based in the job that we have, the position we have in society, the status society has given us. It always comes down to what is coming out, welling out from within us, inside us. And I think that bringing it to other aspects of the news, let's say, without being very direct about them, there are a lot of people being marginalized right now, picked at, poked at, pushed aside, being told they don't belong, being told they don't fit in, being told they shouldn't be here and specific within this country. And I think, especially as we're coming upon Martin Luther King Day tomorrow as well, you know, it's important to emphasize this potential that all beings have, regardless of what society says they have within them, to be completely sublime, free and beautiful, to achieve states like Nibbana. That it's something that all of us have within us. Other traditions within Buddhism call it things like Buddha nature and things like that, but I think it's just enough to say that we have this potential, every single one of us. And so I like, especially today, for us to focus on that sort of, for lack of a better term, grace that we can give all people that we come across in daily life. Because we might make the same mistake that supposedly Subodha did in a past life, not recognizing the saint in front of him. That's the tricky part about Pacceka Buddhas. They're silent Buddhas. That means these are Buddhas that don't show off the fact that they're Buddhas, and they don't teach the Dhamma. They don't turn the wheel. They're people who have managed to achieve Nibbana that have no ability to pass it on to others. But they are winners all the same. Like not arahants, but winners of Nibbana all the same. And so Subodha in his past life, as the tradition tells us, made that mistake of not seeing someone worthy of respect when he should have. But it also means that he, as a leper, was given the same treatment by society. He was someone worthy of respect. No one was giving it to him. He was searching for food, he was hungry, and he was lucky enough to find real and true nourishment within the Buddha's words, within the Dhamma. So that's what I would like to think about, even for myself. You know, just like anyone else, I'm also living in the world. I also get caught up in these 8 worldly conditions. I, like anyone else, have things happen in my life that are out of my control. You know, I'm currently working again in a customer service job that has me dealing with very interesting people, let's say, that make me have to practice what I preach to an extent that I haven't had to in a while. I was living in the world of academia. The greatest danger I faced, I think, was paper cuts, right? And now I'm having to deal with a lot of the same customer service stuff that maybe some of you have had to deal with before as well, you know, or even now as well. You know, the angry customer that no matter how much you try to soothe them and reassure them that everything's okay and you're going to fix the problem, doesn't hear you. They're just anger throwing at you. You know, and so it's good practice for me right now to turn it around, like, here, metta, goodwill, and I'm going to help you, man. Don't worry. It's funny because yesterday, it was, I think, yesterday maybe, or the day before, there was a customer who was giving me some paperwork and I was looking over it and I was just concentrating. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, but like this and the other thing. And I realized, like, oh, you think I'm angry? And he goes, yeah. I said, no. We're all right, my friend. This is just my concentration phase. I'm a little older and it's hard to read this tiny writing. I'm just trying to make sure I'm reading this correctly. And you could just see the calm wash over him. Oh, he's not angry with me. I'm like, no. Why would I be angry? I'll help you out. Just one moment. I'm reading this right now. And it just, all of a sudden, we got along a lot better. But there's a lot of interactions like that where people are so beaten down by life that they see punches coming when it's really a hug, you know? And it's not their fault. Society has conditioned them to see that. So I have to remind myself, not just for me, but the people I'm facing as they come up to me in these interactions I'm now having. You know, I'm caught up in these worldly conditions, pleasure and pain, status, loss of status, and so on. And so are they. And we're all just trying our best to hold things together, feel like a person. You know, I was having another conversation with a friend recently about how, you know, when we were young, we thought adults knew things. And then, you know, now we're looking around and we're middle-aged and we're like, oh no, we're the adults. Do we know things? And like, maybe to a certain extent, you know. And so you think about it, the way the world is, you know, with these winds blowing around and people caught up in samsara, just wandering on, is that a lot of people are wandering through life blindly. They have no sense of what they're doing or how they're doing or anything. They're just going around trying to survive. And it always brings me back to this imagery that the Buddha himself had when he was surveying the world and thinking about why he didn't want to live in the world the same way everyone else was. He said that he saw a world where there wasn't anything that hadn't already been laid claim to. In other words, he didn't see anything that people weren't already fighting over with each other, in conflict with each other over. And so the way he saw it is you can imagine like a small lake filled with too many fish, and they're all competing for the same food. There's this massive movement happening, a lot of aggression towards each other happening. And he wanted to find a path of peace. And so he did seek it out, and then he found it. And he passed it on to us for us to follow as well, this Eightfold Path that we have. That gives us tools for what life throws at us, the various complexities that we face, the challenges that we face, and a way to interact interpersonally that isn't immediate conflict, right? We find a way to go around conflict. We find the way to ease the person in front of us as we're also giving ourselves a sense of ease, remaining calm so that we can give some calmness and peace to others. So that, in my case, very personally, I can realize that like, oh, my concentration face looks like I'm really mad. No, 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 please understand. I'm very rarely mad like that. If I was mad, I'd probably be yelling or something. I wouldn't just be scowling. I'm scowling because my nearsightedness is getting worse, and so is my astigmatism. Despite what my optometrist says, I'm pretty sure I need a new prescription. But we find ways to connect with others in a different way. And we recognize the value of people, like someone like Subodha, someone with leprosy, recognizing that they're in there, within, what past what you see on the outside, the cover of the book, something truly sublime and worth honoring and respecting. And it isn't just because Subodha is a stream enter. It would have even been true before that too, because he has the potential within him. Everyone you meet has the potential to be better than they are right at the moment you meet them. And so you want to honor that potential by recognizing it. And the best way to do that is with kindness and space and recognition. All right, I'll end my talk there. Thank you.
Thank you, Subodha. Yes, we have 10 minutes more. If you have any question or any comment, we have time.
Yeah, you don't want to fail the quiz, guys. This is time. Start asking some good questions. Yeah, Paul.
Really thank you for your Dhamma talk. And I'm also aware of an international audience, and I get very wordy. And I would love to be simple, because your message is express simple. And in my gratitude, I don't know if I can be simple. So I need to continue to practice. What I love is to just let everything fall away and remind us about practice. And this has come up with friends in my world recently, where we all want to feel good. So people go to church, they go to the meetings, they listen to Dhamma talks because they want to feel good. I can eat sugar, I can watch YouTubes, I can go to a movie, I can go dancing. I want to feel good. And so at the core of this, to be reminded of the value of practice again and again and again, no matter what our state is in life, is all about feeling good now versus a return on investment from practice. What is the long term about the feeling good? All of this is in your talk today, and I'm greatly appreciative to be reminded practice is never to be given enough. Thank you.
I'm very glad you said that, Paul, because it's something that's emphasized in my tradition and by my teacher in particular all the time, which is to look at the path as not just lofty thoughts, but a real path of practice and a set of tools. It's very practical, right? This is meant to be put to use, and always with the question being asked when we look at our actions, you know, what am I doing right now, and does it lead to my long-term welfare and happiness? And also, does it lead to the long-term welfare and happiness of others? That aspect is also needed, equally valuable. And so that becomes our compass. And so that allows us to not feel lost when life gets really complicated. We have something that allows us to steer through, gives us a sense of direction. Thank you. Anything else? Question, comment? I just got a thumbs up from my wife, which is really reassuring. In the car, I'll say, "Did I give a good talk? There weren't a lot of questions." And she'll say, "You did such a good job. There were no need for questions. You're so clear and concise and everything." She's very good about that. But if you do have questions, this is a good time to ask. You know, I always remind people of the example that we have from the canon, which is, you know, the Buddha is there dying, and you know, he asks, "Hey, I'm about to go, guys. The door's that way. Are there any questions?" And people are like, no questions. And it's often taken as an example the Buddha was a great teacher, except for the fact that once he dies, all of a sudden there's all these questions on everything. So you should ask questions. This path is interpersonal, and you get the most out of it when you get specific about what's happening in your own life. Right? That's part of that practicality.
We talked today some a little bit. I get nervous when I speak in public, so I just to give some double reassurance here.
You don't need to reassure me. I'm here to reassure you right now.
No, it was a great talk. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Subodha, Erewhon is a fascinating case study in worldly concerns. It really, truly is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never stepped into one, but of course I've come across, you know, little videos online of people showing off the prices and mostly laughing at it. You know, like the price of a peach or an avocado or whatever. And people keep talking about the smoothies. I don't know if they're worth it or not. I've never been to one, but yeah. Probably not. Probably not.
All right, thank you, Subodha. And we're going to start the page 4 and page 10. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Sentient
beings are numberless. I vow to save them all.
deluded passions are inexhaustible. I vow to rid them all.
Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. When ye do kongaduk pokap unyate nadang du changa sangye gai kom thai pada. When ye do kongaduk pokap unyate nadang du changa sangye gai kom thai pada. When ye do kongaduk pokap unyate nadang du changa sangye gai kom thai pada.
Thank you again. A couple of announcements. Next Sunday, Ananda Coronado is going to give a Dhamma talk. Please come and join. And the 31st of the January, which is the before our main events about the February 1st. So 31st, 10 o'clock, we all are gathering here. We're going to clean the temple. So outside and inside everything. Please come and join. Cleaning the temple is getting a lot of benefits. Number one, you are going to be happy. Number two, you're going to be tired. And number three, I think the monks are going to provide some kind of food, spicy food. So right away you getting benefits. Please come and join. Again, the February 1st is a big program we have. We invite almost 12, between 10 to 15 monks, I don't know, 12, 13 maybe, something like that. We have here service around 10, 11 o'clock is starting. February 1st, first Sunday, which is no meditation, 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock here starting program, which is offering the Buddha Puja, everything. And this is two events. One is we celebrating welcome for the Chinese New Year. Okay, second one is offering merit for the departure relative, especially founder of our temple, Venerable Dr. Thikthienan, late Abbas Venerable Karuna Dhamma, and late Venerable Dr. Ratan Sara. I believe most of don't know about the Dr. Ratan Sara except few people here, which is my teacher, and he was here almost 20 years, I believe, in center here, giving Dhamma talk, teaching, working with everybody. So he passed away 2000 around April, and Reverend Karuna passed away the 2013, I believe, or 13, I believe. I'm not sure. 13 around March. And Dr. Thienan passed away in 1980, I believe. 1980, around November or sometime. We don't know anything about. Anyway, so including that great teachers plus other monks and nuns passed away in IBMC, Venerable Sarika Dhamma, Triratna Priya, Suhita Dhamma, a lot of our student Vinita, all the monks. Actually, Vinita passed away February 12 or something like. So thinking about those, all the monks and nuns who have passed away, and we're going to offer the merit for those people also. And we do have a dana, which is going to be on the hall. Please bring your gift for the monks. Even you can give at least $1 for each monk. That's good for you to start dana. So I believe we have at least around 10 to 12, maybe 12 monks coming, and monks and nuns also. Okay, different tradition. Theravada and Mahayana both. Please come and join. Again, the good part is there are a lot of food. Food is important for every time, because we all are Buddha. Even Buddha say we all are dependent about the food. Sabbe satta aharattitika. All beings depending about food. So it's very important. We have a lot of food coming, veggie and non-veggie. Even for the 50 people come, we are ready for the food. We have Sri Lankan, Indian, Thai, Vietnamese, all kind of food. You can eat and you can take back home also if they are left. I think that's it I want to announce now. Okay, please come and join both next Sunday and 31st of the January and the 1st of the February also. Thank you again for being with us here, and I think we have tea and cookies. That's it right now. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.